What's going on, everyone? Today is Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, and this is your midweek review. I will be going over dollar first. Me and Henry are kind of on the same page with both dollar and ES, so I'm going to go over dollar really quick. He's going to go over ES really quick. We're not going to take too much of your time, but we're going to give you a little idea of what we're thinking could potentially happen going into tomorrow with CPI. You have some CPI tomorrow at 8:30, and then you've got a FOMC member speaking in the later half of the day. So let CPI play out. If you see your model, obviously volatility will be in the marketplace, so feel free to trade post CPI. And then also there's volatility in that PM session too, so don't feel like you have to trade. With that being said, I will go ahead and get into dollar. So on a weekly time frame, we're back up into that breaker block in CIVI. I believe we'll probably push higher and take out last week's high. So keep an eye on the previous week's high. Keep an eye on this CIVI on dollar as well, as we could potentially push up into that. And then also keep your eyes on these relative equal highs up here. Those are my 3 points in which I think CPI might go and kind of take. So we've got previous week's high, this weekly CIVI right here, and then the relative equal highs that are just above it. When you go into a daily, I know we were talking about potentially price moving down into the sell side liquidity, and I was talking about last week wanting to see price rebalance this area. We opened up the week and rebalanced it on Monday, but you can see the reaction off of it wasn't necessarily what I was expecting or wanting if we were going to see lower prices. Price rebalanced immediately like I wanted it to, but we did not see the reaction, right? Price had no business going lower. We were unable to close below this up close candle, which would have been used as an order block, and we went right back up, and now we kind of created relative equal highs. So I believe price could potentially just consolidate in here leading up to CPI. With that being said, it could go test the lower half of this breaker, and you might get a wick down here or something, and then price goes higher. Obviously, things can change as we lead up to it, but I am expecting price to potentially go higher, take out this previous week's high. We've got relative equal highs here. That's kind of where I sit right now. If we do go higher and CPI kind of drastically goes lower, I would be looking for these same areas to the downside. But for the most part, I do believe we are kind of going to get some higher prices in dollar towards the end of the week. So keep that in mind. Keep the CIVI in mind. Keep the breaker in mind. Keep the lower half of the breaker in mind. And I mean, keep it with a grain of salt as we go into CPI. But for the most part, I do not believe we will go down here. Note though, if we do go down there on a weekly time frame, we now have created a BISI in here, but it could be viewed as a balanced price range, right? We had sell side offered here, buy side offered here, so that is technically balanced. But think, and just keep in the back of your mind, if we do continue going lower and we start to, fall a little bit, keep in mind this BISI right here, right? And the sell side liquidity that might sit in it, and then how that reacts there too, right? Don't necessarily start looking here or here. If we do go lower and we start closing below the breaker block, keep that in mind. We also have a CIVI right here that we could potentially start to invert also, right? And that BISI sits on the lower half of it. So that's something that I would keep in mind too. But for the most part, I'm not necessarily too worried about that stuff. I'm just waiting to see where we are trading heading into 8:30, and I believe that we will potentially at least take out these relative equal highs in here. How and what we do following that is for time to tell, but for the most part, my eyes are on these relative equal highs, and if we are there before CPI, then my eyes go to the next CIVI, which would be on the weekly right here. And if we do choose to just skyrocket prior to CPI, you've got a little CIVI in here, and you also have buy side liquidity sitting right here, right? You've got a buy side liquidity pool with a swing point. It might want that also. Other than that, those are my 3 main kind of points: the relative equal highs and previous week's high, this weekly CIVI, and then also the relative equal highs and the buy side liquidity sitting here. Once we get above there, I kind of would go a little bit neutral. Obviously, we've got a lot of things happening right here, and I'd like to see if price decides to maintain that. You do have a little tiny volume imbalance in here, but I don't want to stretch it too far. My main focus is on these relative equal highs and this weekly SIBI also. Other than that, please trade safe. That's really all I have. If we do get back below this pre/post CPI, look at the opens of these candles and the 50%, this candle and this candle. For whatever reason, we do take out this candle and we take out these relative equal highs, we fill the SIBI entirely and we do go down. Keep that in mind, and these should be sensitive, and we should potentially get something like this, have it go below it. These opens right here should act as resistance and should be relatively sensitive if we are going to go lower, and then I would want it to go into the SIBI, or into the BISI, excuse me. Vice versa, if we do go higher, I would want it to really just test this and go higher, right? And I would want it to actually use this area right here that was the immediate rebalance. I would want it to be sensitive to that on its way higher, right? And go higher into here, something like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking out for tomorrow. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, will be a lot of volatility. CPI is more of an instant repricing than anything, so be careful. It never hurts to just be a student. You don't always have to be a trader. And that's really all I have. I will give it to Mr. Henry to finish it off with ES.
Okay, so we'll start with the monthly chart, just kind of going back over what we discussed in this last weekend's call. So here on the monthly, we are watching for this BISI down here and sell side just above it as a potential area to draw back into if we do come back below this weekly liquidity void that we have here. We have now done an immediate rebalance on the monthly chart here. So there was potential for that idea to develop and then to trade back higher here. But I'm not seeing that at the moment for a couple of reasons, which I discuss on a weekly and daily chart. But just a couple levels to watch here as we go into CPI and the rest of the week are the discount with consequent encroachment in this monthly chart, and then sell side below it on the low of this previous monthly candle, just above this BISI as well. Okay. And as we go into the weekly, we can take a look here. So last week we talked about this liquidity void right here, and now we've traded up through it, delivering the buy side, back down, delivering the sell side, and then so far this week has traded back up into the midpoint, and then nicely trading lower back off of the midpoint of that liquidity void there. This weekly BISI has also now been fully redelivered and then traded back away from it there, and now coming back off down toward the lows. So at the moment, looking like it's doing a heavier hand, so that's likely to trade lower here. And now this is the weekly propulsion block that you're watching as well, right? So we have this down plus candle traded into it, and now we're looking for, if this is to continue consolidating or trading higher in respect, then we want to see respect for, at the lowest, the mean threshold of this weekly propulsion block. Otherwise, we're likely to see price continue to trade lower, down into sell side, and then looking for consequent encroachment here, and some of these inefficiencies that we have lower. On the daily chart here, you can see that after we made this high up here, we broke away here. This volume imbalance here is a bit like the breakaway gap in a sense. Trade away from there, leave this open. We have this series of upwards candles here as our daily order block, which we tap into right there, nicely in confidence with this SIBI, and we drop lower. So at this point, we've delivered the buy side and the sell side, and we can consider this that balanced price range now that it's traded both sides. And then what can we expect after that? We are looking for a reaction at the consequent encroachment. So we trade up on Monday. look at the candle bodies sitting nicely there, immediately trading back lower off of it, and then today's price action traded just shy of the constant encouragement and then dropped back down, closing right at the weekly propulsion block. So now just looking at these levels here, this is when the buy side and sell side trade back to the constant encouragement and away from it. And now in the price action we have developing here on Wednesday evening going into Thursday trading, we're now trading up into the low of this liquidity board, and that's in confluence with this upwards candle here. So treating that as the order block. And what we can see from that is likely as long as we stay inside the lower half of this liquidity board, we can expect lower prices to trade. So the low of the previous day's low, sell side here, and then looking for this lower this here in confluence with the mean threshold of the weekly propulsion block. And then we also have the monthly wick. And if we really extend through it and don't show any sort of respect for that, then we'll be looking for just under these candle bodies, those as a rejection block, and then sell side. If for some reason this does trade back above and close above the consequent approachment here, then we could potentially start looking for these areas to trade up here, the remainder of this city inefficiency, and then back into this volume balance. But for now, I'm leaning toward lower prices.
That works.
All right, cool.
I'm there.
Good luck the rest of the week, everyone, and stay safe. You don't have to trade, so tomorrow isn't present, or any external things that are going on in your life that are taking your focus away, then there's going to be plenty of other opportunities. So don't worry about being in this one. There's always another chance to participate anytime, right?
I will add too, we are going to be getting together on Sunday at 10, our normal time. Henry will be kind of away for the weekend, but he's going to try to hop on. It's not going to be a crazy big call. I will be kind of going over the first task going into next week. We're going to start that rolling. It might take a couple weeks to get the tiny details of it, but I will at least have some form of task for us to go into next week and do. And then we do have a couple other things in the works for you guys, for the community, that we can't really share right now, but we are working on it. It is going to be a work in progress over the next couple weeks. But as soon as we do start to make a little bit more ground, we will be able to share with you guys what it is we are working on. But for at least this week, we are going to go ahead and open up the first task. It will not be anything hard. It will be something relatively pretty easy, especially since it is the first one. But I am excited to get that in your guys' hands and see what you guys do with it. Other than that, I will add the date in the link as well in the email. But Sunday at 10 a.m., that's kind of our go-to time now. So for the ones that'll be there, I'll see you there. Potentially Henry will see you there. And for the ones that cannot make it, hopefully you are able to catch the recording. Other than that, that is really all from me. We are continuously working and going back and forth on some ideas to just make the community at whole better, easier, more accessible, all that good stuff. But until we can get some things set in stone, we will at least open up for the first task this week. And I'm excited. Henry, you got anything else?
That's it for me. Yeah, just excited. Looking forward to a couple things we're working on, and we'll be excited to share that with you all soon.
Alrighty, guys. We will see you. I will see you on Sunday. Henry will potentially see you on Sunday. Please trade safe going into tomorrow and the end of the week. And that's about all I got. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Peace.